Perhaps I don't want what you think I want. And if there's nothing you can give me, perhaps there is something that I can give you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, let's get ready to build with the man who loves to sit back and watch some film. It's all gritty, so stomp your feet and clap your titties. It's a segment about the psychology of film, production of images, uh, really, kind of plagues society and molds the psychology of society who's embracing these films. I really enjoyed that as I was watching the James Baldwin documentary on Max a couple of nights ago. So I'm gonna keep it at that for a little bit, man. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It's called Lights, Camera, Distraction. Right here
Bum,
on the
bum, bum.
Gray Area Podcast, baby.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So I asked you, gentlemen, and for those listening at home, don't forget we know you're listening, and we hope that you're going to enjoy this segment. Because I mean, we are a movie watching society. We are a movie watching society, and most importantly, thank you, gentlemen, for allowing me to do this segment. Because first of all, I am very excited about doing this because I told you guys I was up since 5:30, and I've watched I think today maybe 7 stand-ups, giggling my ass off while the sun came up, and my wife coming outside like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I'm like, "Bitch, I got weed and stand-up. I'm having a great time."
Chill it.
And then went into some movies. A movie, also writing a paper. It's been a glorious day. But in doing this, really kind of to break down the things that we watch, because again, we are a society that loves to make references to movies in order to interpret the world, right? And again, very happy you guys allowed me to do this. So, first movie of the first segment is the movie The Harder They Fall, a movie that came out on Netflix back in 2021. Did you guys get a chance to see it? Because I did tell Muggs about it. I said, "Yo, man,
I
Facts.
just finished it. I just finished it.
awesome, awesome, awesome." So, before we start, I would love to get your take on it. The segment is only a good segment if I have, if I have people to go back and forth, just comment the entire thing. I want to see what your
100%.
thoughts on it.
Yeah, Guru, go ahead.
Yes.
I think it was good, man. I talked to Muggs about this shortly, but I think we had an all black cast, you had black direction, and it was cool to see something outside of the norm. Um, yeah, and you had some good performances, man. You had some good performances from a Jonathan Majors. Was that Jonathan Majors in there? All in all, I think it was cool, man. I think it was and it's based on history too. We had who was it, Shotgun Mary or what's her name? We had these types of people. What was her name?
Yeah, Treacherous Mary or something like that. Right.
Treacherous Mary.
Something
That
along
sounds
those
more like
lines.
it.
Something along those lines. Right.
But I like the idea of showing us stories and showing us depictions of people of color, people that look like us that are outside of the norm that we get.
Right. I'll agree with that.
Okay.
Okay, so this is what I'll say. I'm gonna give you my first impression on the movie, then I'm gonna give you my take on the movie. So I remember when the
Yes.
movie came out, and I remember seeing the trailer, and I'm like, ah, man, this is just another pandering cash grab, something big and bright from Netflix, and I never watched it. Right today, a couple hours ago was the first time I've ever seen the movie, and I just avoided it. I avoided it. Maybe I shouldn't have. I avoided it for the wrong reasons. I'll say that. I avoided it for the wrong reasons. Before I go into that, I'll give you my take on the movie. So I avoided the movie for 3 years at this point. Watched it today, and I'll say that I feel like movies like this are needed. You know, um, I'll
Okay.
say I'll say it's one of the best looking cowboy movies I've seen.
Okay.
Um, but I'll also say that, like I said, Netflix is known for making big, flashy efforts that look good, but kind of, the story isn't there. It's like fast food art.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But listen, I liked it. I didn't mind it. I liked it more than I thought I would. Because if you talk to Guru last week, I was like, "Yo, man, he wants to do this one. We about to do this," but I never really wanted. I told you. I'm pretty sure I told you too.
Yeah.
But my mind was changed after I watched it. I do think it's important that we had the all black cast.
Yep.
But the first 30 minutes of the movie, I'm like, "What is this? An all black universe?" 'Cause I didn't see no white people. So I'm like, I wasn't sure. You know, I'm like, all right, this might be on some unrealistic shit. But now listen, I appreciate the movie, and I think everybody acted well. I don't know if they all acted to the best of their abilities, given the parameters of the storyline, but I think they acted well. I'll say that.
All right. I mean, and listen, you have great points, and this is why this segment is awesome because it can't just come from my way of critiquing particular things, but it's also why we're calling this segment "Lights, Cameras, Distraction." So historical. I think Guru mentioned historical. Historical, we can say maybe I don't know 3%. Because the movie opens up and tells you that everything in this movie is fictional. None of these things occurred. The next thing on the screen says, these period people period existed period. That's a pretty bold statement. They did exist, but they never coincided. These people don't
Right.
even know.
In this way that we watched it,
Yeah.
right, right.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like taking Martin Luther King, Jesus, and fucking I don't know, man, Cleopatra, and then putting them in a movie where they're going back to the future. It really starts off with like you said, like a black universe. So you created this world of these characters that existed but never really crossed paths, never really fucking even knew each other or even had a milkshake together, right? So this is a thing where I mean, I was watching the Hughley joint on Netflix, and he was referring to like Wakanda, right? This idea of putting black actors together and then saying, "Well, this is, so you can see yourself on the screen." And I love to bring that up because as a fucking Latino, it's we always point out, like I was having a conversation with some friends this past weekend, and they're like, and we were talking about Time of a Butterfly, which is the story about these sisters in the Dominican Republic who are tortured and murdered by the dictator. But then you have mostly a Mexican fucking cast. And as Dominicans, we're like, well, that's not really us. And that's something that I bring up because it's something that is done here in America. It's like, oh, we'll just throw black people on the screen and say, all right, they see themselves, now they're gonna feel better about themselves.
Right.
But
If
what
I
does
could,
that say? What does that say for the experience? Right.
if I could
We're,
say this real quick
yes.
about that. So, majority of films, right, Hollywood has been predominantly towards white people, right? So it's like
Oh, of course.
no one has to tell, right? I don't have to tell you this, but no one has to tell white people and the general population of people that watch these movies that it's fantasy, right? Or that this because we see a bunch of movies that are all white. You never see one black person, but that don't take you out of the realm of it being fantasy or that it's not legitimate. So it's like part of my thinking is like because we have so much catching up to do as black cinema. That's like maybe we're trying to morph everything together to kind of cover our bases. You know what I mean? Like we have
Yeah,
so many
I get
decades.
that, but then why do it with a white story? You see what I'm saying?
I, you
Because
know, I
it
yeah.
is a white story. It's a story of vengeance, of revenge, of this narrative that doesn't apply to the black experience. You see what I'm saying? So is it enough to catch up with just visualization, or with a story that provides an in-depth analysis of an experience? We're not even told what years it is.
Let me add this
It
too. Then it's like the
Yeah.
person, to that point, it's like I think any all black cinema, like stuff Jordan Peele and all these type of people do. We need more black writers. We need more directors, producers, right?
Yeah.
Just because a black person made it, that doesn't mean it's going to be the answer, right? It's like it was a black
Oh,
person
yeah.
that wrote it. Jay Z put some money behind it, but it still has to sell, right? So to your point,
Yeah.
it's like, hey, it's got about revenge. It's about killing people. It's about because these are the type of tones that we could put into a movie that will sell with a black face on it. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it's the most prominent or beneficial thing for us. You know what I mean? 100%.
And that's my point, right? It was Muggs, I think you mentioned Cowboy. It's not a cowboy movie.
Right.
They're all outlaws.
Right.
That's the other thing that plays on our
Right, the
mind.
Outlaw movie.
Yep, that's the other thing that plays on our minds when we break down these these westerns. That's what it is. It's really a western.
My issue with this stuff is
Or spaghetti
it,
western.
it's this is all a form to me. This is all a form of pandering. This is what happens. Movies like this, certain shows, certain commercials, uh, the whole Oscars so white thing.
Oh
This
yeah,
this is a form of pandering.
good
You
point.
know, it's the same thing that happens with the Democratic Party. That's why I can't. That's why when I see shit like this, when I see this all black cast ensemble, like in my heart, I'm like, yeah, that's what we need. But I know that the machine is up to trickery, and
Yeah,
this is just pandering.
yeah,
You know what I'm
But
saying?
but I would say, and I agree, but I would say all of it's pandering, right? Everybody's pandering to their
Right,
their,
but
their base.
right, but
yeah.
pandering is demographic specific. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So
Mm,
I'm saying is everybody has a populace, a group of people they're trying to sell to, influence.
Right,
yeah,
That's who you pander to.
yeah,
right.
Everybody got that. Right. So
yeah,
Right,
I'm
but
saying
I
like
can't. I'm not to be pandered to. Me personally, me the individual I am, I'm not to be pandered to, and that's why I avoid shit like this.
yeah.
Now, even if I know this is what we need, this is what the world needs to see, and it's not a bad movie. Even if I know that, I got to avoid it because I know that it's gift wrapped it in what I want to
Yeah.
know and what I want to see. But the inside of that present is just the machine working.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I'm saying?
let me say something straight for those that are listening. I mean, you're right with the idea of pandering, and I want to do a little analysis on that. But and also I think to like kind of go on Guru's point as well is that I don't think this is being done with bad intentions. Right? Let's put that out there. Again, it's called lights, cameras, distraction, but it's not to say that this movie is something that you shouldn't see because it's going to harm. No, 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 no. And I don't think the people who made it did it with an intent. No, right. But we also have to see what's behind, in the machine, like you're making a great point of, right? Now, it's a form of pandering, but I mean, there's worse cases of pandering, right?
Oh, for sure,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
let's understand, like, one of the worst cases of pandering. Let's remember, like a Sean Hannity a couple of years back when he started calling himself part of the demographic of dirty Walmart shoppers, and meanwhile he was making like $5 million a month and considering himself a Walmart shopper, just to get these actual poor white trash Walmart shoppers to vote for fucking Trump.
Right,
That's the ultimate level of pandering. This I understand it is the absence of a demographic within this medium, and then in order to reflect the presence of this demographic in this area within Hollywood in order to present them on screen, because we do have the evidence of people constantly saying, well, we don't see ourselves up there enough, and which is what my point was with the whole Latino and the Butterfly movie, right? Is that when is it when is it when can we say, all right, well, that's not really what we need. What we need is the more in-depth stories, right? That help us analyze the system in which we belong to, right? That's what we should attempt to ask from our creators. And are they even allowed to do that?
right.
Right. Are they even? So there's this wonderful documentary, PBS, and it's even on YouTube, about the start of Hollywood, right? And I mean, you have the major Hollywood heads that started out. I mean, after they moved to New York and pushed in the 1920s, and they were all Jewish men.
Mm,
They fucking grew up in Europe, came here. I mean, again, we have to remember that this was, these are people that were not offered opportunities during this period in the early 20th century. So entertainment was something that they had to, kind of go into. And then when entertainment became something that was more accessible to the American consumer, then that's when they were able to dominate that medium. But then PBS Special goes into very specifically how these men molded their films in order to create a cultural sentiment of how good America is, and how
Right.
how how it was a tool, a psychological tool as well,
It's
which
nationalization. To naturalize
yes,
people. Yeah.
yes, and then which they paid for immediately. And a couple of decades later, when they started fucking, when they started persecuting, when they started persecuting fucking communists and Jews, and they were quickly thrown the hell out of that shit. So it's ironic yet wild, but we have to remember, and even the persecution of writers in the 1940s and 30s, and oh, now you're writing about labor unions. What are you, a communist? So the things that you watch on television, things you watch in film, are highly, highly filtered, and this
Right.
is why this segment is going to be so dope.
To your point, man, it's like, yeah, it's entertainment. It's entertainment first. So you might get some value from it, whether it
Yeah,
be emotional or educational, but it's not there to educate you. It's not there to make you feel good. It's really there to just sell a product and sell an idea to you. So it's like,
yeah,
my big thing is like, yeah, we can find documentaries and we can, find the right pieces, but we need more people making it. Because at the end of the day, the industry, we know what time it is with Hollywood, right? They're trying to sell something. They're trying to make share price go up. So I don't expect these movies to round me out. You know what I mean?
yeah. But you're viewing it with a trained eye and a mind. My thing is, a lot of people
Well, that's a fact.
walk around, and I mean, personally, I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, but it's not like the movie said." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, that is something." Yeah, when you're looking at movies to provide a foundation of an
For
educational
facts,
argument,
right?
that you have problems.
I mean, that's where
100%.
we are. That's where we
Yeah,
are, though. People
yeah,
people look to the internet for news. People look to the internet for facts, and don't get me wrong, you'll find facts on the internet, but you won't find facts on Instagram feeds or Facebook feeds, and this is how,
Right. People get
so
their
it's
feed, like your feed might give you a minute long video, and you go, "Oh, this is information. This is news."
yeah.
So if I see a minute long anywhere else, I will assume that this is also news. I watched an hour on Facebook Live, and that informed me. So maybe this movie is doing the same thing. You're tricking your brain to take anything visual like that. That visual cue is knowledge? No, not necessarily.
right.
That's a good soundbite. That's a good soundbite.
So let
So
me ask you this one question.
yes, sir.
What is it time for us to make better watching decisions, or do we watch everything to have an experienced palate?
I'm gonna be honest. It's if you and again, hey, if you love, because you, I also give the argument it's entertainment. If you seek movies to be entertained, then go ahead. Merry Christmas to you.
Right,
But
right.
but do not, do not then adhere to what you just saw as entertainment, as a sense of reality.
Mm,
Again, we also live in a world where people will watch a fucking Marvel movie and then start constructing fucking scientific theories around this shit. And
Around
you're
right,
time
like, yo,
travel.
hold up, B, hold up. That
right.
was that was a Marvel movie, bro. Yo, but it's possible. Motherfucker, did you go to MIT? No.
Dangerous,
You see
bro.
what I'm
This
saying?
is yo, listen,
You
Like
cannot
you
go
have
time
motherfuckers
you
travel
out here
now.
preaching
knowing
to
how
the
the fuck,
choir.
dude.
You preaching to the choir,
Like
bro.
motherfuckers know how the flux capacitor works. You don't know how
Right,
the flux capacitor works.
right.
You
Motherfuckers.
see what I'm
Yo,
saying? Like,
bro, I
just
get it.
keep it at that, then, B. Just keep it at that, yo. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Fucking Air Bud is not on the basketball team. It's not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? Yo, keep it to that. Don't try to interject in real conversations with your movie knowledge. That
Mm,
then becomes a problem.
You know
agreed.
what? Example of that is like, how like women that watch a lot of like what's that shit, like Young and the Restless, soap opera shit, right? And then
Oh,
you might go
yo.
see you might go see that person in real life, like, "You cheat on so and so, you motherfucker." It's like, it's
Yeah.
not real though. But what
Yeah.
happened to that person? They had such a strong emotional attachment to the information they received, whether it was
Yeah.
real or not. And so even with Marvel, if you're a nerd, you got such an emotional attachment to Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah.
but Spider-Man did this. Like, yeah, but that's just not real though. So your brain is taking this information, you assert some type of emotion to it, and the rest is history.
Yeah. You know what's wild is that, I mean, I don't I was watching an old episode of Quantum Leap, and I mean, I remember this as a kid, but this was an issue back in like the 80s and shit. Like people that believed soap operas and what they used to call, remember, their stories. and fully like be engulfed into these characters, and you're like, this is television. Back the fuck up. It's not real. And again, that's the problem with it goes in again the psychology, man. We are a species that at times has difficulty assessing what's real and what's not.
Mm.
I mean,
That's a fact.
it is. Again, you can't. Back to your question: should we watch everything? Unless you are mentally fortified, I
Mm.
don't suggest that. Right?
Okay.
I clicked on something the other day that was like, "Yo, glitches in the matrix," and went down this thing about how we may be living in this computer world. My man, are you? We living in a computer world for real, dude? We didn't even have civil rights like 60 years ago. What the fuck you talking about a computer glitch? We just learned about computers. Like, we have to assess history first and understand history before we start making up these false narratives
Mm.
of again of the shit that we're fucking watching. No, it's not going to be healthy if you don't have a strong mind that understands how this medium was built, how this medium was spread, and how this
Hmm.
medium is maintained. If you don't do so, then you're going to be lost out there.
That's powerful, man. Real quick, I'll say that's powerful because there's so much information coming at us with TV and social media and people and da da da. There's so much coming at you. If you just open up the valve and let everything in, you'll drown. You know what I mean? So you do
Yeah,
gotta have to be specific about. Okay, you know what? That's not the right time for me. I'm not gonna waste
yeah.
my time with that.
Yeah, I mean, if you just learn how to swim, you're not hitting the ocean tomorrow. No, you stay in the kiddie pool for a while, B, and then you build your breathing, you build your strength, and then you head out there. But it's really dangerous for those to start doing that. It's really fucking dangerous. I mean, look at cults. Look at cults, bro. It's dangerous. It's really dangerous. But back to this film. For those that are listening. Again, man, lights, cameras, distraction. I don't. I'm not gonna tell you not to watch this film. It's on Netflix. Go ahead. The harder they fall. I mean, Idris Elba, this motherfucker sexy. God damn it, everybody knows him. This motherfucker can do anything. He British, but he sounds
but
American. He
but
could,
but
Sounds
Denzelo, is he beating
American.
Denzel? Is he
Crazy.
beating Denzel low? Is he beating Denzel low?
I
No.
mean,
No.
Right?
listen, man.
Nah, not training day.
You know what it is, man. It's that he's Diesel. He's stronger than Denzel. I mean he used to be a DJ. I know he's probably still DJing out there in the world. You know what it is? Denzel can still move, God. Denzel can still move. I just finished again, I have a lot of time on my hands. I just finished Equalizer 1, 2, and 3.
I've
And
only seen two.
yeah,
I've only
actually
seen two.
number 2 is the best one of the entire
Okay.
trilogy.
All right then.
Yeah. Three takes a weird route. And then one, he faces the entire Russian mafia, and it's like, yeah, one black guy could do that. I doubt that.
On some
Uh,
John Wick shit. On some
it's
impossible John
fucking
Wick shit.
insane. Yeah, it's fucking insane. But we'll do that another day. Again, it's a thing where you place black actors into these white roles, right?
Right.
There really isn't anything black about them. The only scene that you could be like, all right, something here black about them is when they go to rob that bank, and I mean it's cartoonishly funny because
Mayville scene.
it's an
Right.
all white town, and then they go in and it's all white bank, right, painted white and everything. And she's like, "Yo, I want to make a deposit." And the chick is like, "Ah!" She was laughing at her. And you're like, "All right, now you got to remember that they're black, right?" But
Right.
in reality, it's like it's a black marshal, a black mayor, and it's like, "All right, well, again, give me history," because we have to understand that if we're talking about, let's say, the Reconstruction era here in the United States, where there was an attempt to incorporate black people after slavery, you know what I'm saying? Where we're seeing like black elected officials, we're seeing more educators, and then obviously the rise of these these laws and the Klan in order to suppress, and the violence that came behind that suppression of black people coming out of slavery.
Right.
Give me more of that. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Give me some of that. Don't have a black man in there called Cherokee Bill, and
Right.
then he speaks Cherokee too. Like, what's black about that? You see what I'm saying?
No, I get it. I get it. Listen, so this is the thing about this movie for me. You can't hold this movie up to Rosewood, to
Oh, not doing
Amistad,
that. No, no,
to
no, no.
12 Years a Slave. Like, I'm just saying for anybody who
Yeah,
watches it, because we're just talking about people watching things and misconstruing, and don't group this movie in with movies like that. Because movies like that depict the more accurate, true experience of what was going on. And just know that it's a movie, so what really happened in those cases was much worse. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's actually a very great point. Great point. I got to give you points for that because you're right. These are they have historical basis. This is definitely a fantasy film. It's a fantasy
right,
film.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Don't put it under the color purple. Don't do that.
Right.
It stands, in its own way. You know what? I was telling my wife, I was like, "Yo, this is a western that looks like it was directed by Hype Williams."
Mm. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the music was very not of its time. They had a
I'm
lot of fun.
annoyed by that. I'm annoyed by that. And you
Dude,
know what? You
hold
know
up,
what
me too, bro.
the
Speak
thing
on it.
this is just the thing about it. Okay. The first time I got fed up with it and it ruined the movie for me,
Yeah,
fuck the story. It ruined the movie for me was The Great Gatsby. We'll talk about that later. But the new version of The Great Gatsby
yeah,
was just I don't understand why we're supposed to be in the 1920s,
yeah.
1930s, but the music is Jay-Z or Beyonce. I
Yes.
don't understand it. What are you
Me
trying to
neither.
convey? You're
Yeah,
confusing people. The bottom line is that you're confusing the people who are really here for the story, the people who read the book in high school. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
Um,
don't agree. You're right. I don't agree with period pieces using music that's not of that time.
right.
Right.
It
So
sullies
you
it
have
sullies
you
the
have
image.
you have in this movie you have these characters who are obviously in the 1800s, and we only get Salinas, Texas, as a point of reference in the beginning of the movie, and we get swing. It's a lot of fucking dance hall reggae and that shit. Then there's fucking like, some ill R&B. I think there's a Jay-Z song in there. Then we get Fela Kuti, and it's like, whoa, like, all right, what's happening here? What's happening here?
Yeah, man. You got these a lot of it is you got these music curators or these people who get hired for these positions, and it's like at a certain point you can't just put what's on your fucking playlist for the score
Word,
of this movie.
word,
You know what I'm
word.
saying?
No, it wasn't QD3. Yo, a little reference here, but I was like 2 days ago watching fucking Death Wish,
Oh
and
shit.
Charles Bronson,
Right.
and you can kind of it skips the mind sometimes when you're young watching these movies that Herbie Hancock did the composed the flick.
Right.
And
Right.
and even though it was a Herbie Hancock style, it still lends to the movie and shit. And I think that's what we're talking about, right? It's like, I mean, you can compose the flick, man, but you don't, you don't. But why are you adding some hip hop, or what you think is hip hop shit, to a film that's supposed to be in the 1870s? Just
Right.
doesn't make any
It,
sense to
it
me.
makes no sense, but that's the 1-2, that's the Kansas City shuffle. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
it gets to be too much for me,
yeah.
stuff like that.
I,
So
I, like- I like you said the Kansas City show. So here's some things I had to real quick take a note down because I forgot some of the stuff that it's in the flick, and to me I find this to be hilarious. The banter, right?
right,
Cherokee Bill, first of all, has some wonderful banter on the train scene, right? When he's when he's talking to the all white like I guess military that has his boy,
Right.
and he's like, what do you think, you're gonna get out of here dread scot free?
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And that shit was hilarious. But then the other dudes that like I guess were supposed to be the good guys, and it just like, there's one scene where he's like, what he says, oh my god, what did I write here? He says, uh, he says, I'm lightning fast with the blam blams,
Right. Right.
and I was like,
Right.
I
Right.
don't think that was being used
That's
back
not
then.
terminology back then.
Yeah, like
That's
it's
not
like, what are you
terminology.
doing, man?
Those were considered 6-shooters back then.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, I'm
You know what I'm
lightning with
saying?
these blam blams. I was like, uh, what? What? Yeah. Do you not know that the lexicon had changed? I mean, sometimes I think that people think that it's like black lingo that you're born with, and I find that to be like racist and shit. Like, what the fuck you
Oh,
doing?
for
Like,
sure.
what? No, no,
For
no.
sure. And then you know what the issue is these days you'll have a black director that'll have that in there.
Yeah,
And it'll be a black director that'll push it. It's not just a white director who like it starts like that, but then it becomes shit like that becomes commonplace. We
it
went through
does.
that. We went through that in the 90s. We went
Yeah,
through that in the 90s, oversaturated to the point where we got fucking Malibu's Most Wanted,
oh,
and they're able to poke fun at it now. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So it's like, listen, it's a fucking slippery slope
It
when
is.
it comes to it. And the banter in the movie, I definitely noticed it. I definitely
Yeah,
noticed it. A
yeah.
lot of it was uncalled for. I'll say that. Some of it was good. Some of
Yeah.
it was good, but a lot of it was uncalled for.
Listen, you can really enjoy this flick. We're pointing out things again because we're trying to provide a sociological perspective here.
And we have
But
skewed vision. We have skewed vision
yeah,
where we're different than a lot of the moviegoers.
yeah. But you can definitely listen to this. You can definitely enjoy it. But please take those things into account, right?
Right.
And also take into account that um there were a lot of like kind of things that didn't allow black people just to pick up guns like that.
Right.
It made it seem like it was very easy for just black people to just have guns. I mean, this was a country that was not allowing black people to even like get jobs and move around too much, far less become outlaws and enter banks even. So again, because it doesn't have a historical foundation, then it allows a person to believe that this was a possibility for black people in that time period.
And that ties back to don't be overly influenced by this movie. Like Rhino keeps reiterating, we're not saying don't watch the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I sat
Yeah,
down, I watched it, I enjoyed the movie. It's
yeah,
good entertainment, but don't group it with the movies that depict historical reenactments or recounts with
It's
accuracy.
not a
Don't group it with
documentary.
that. Right. Well,
no, no, no.
it's not a documentary, and like we were saying, it's not Amistad, it's not Rosewood, it's not 12 Years a Slave, it's not Roots. It's this. This can very much so be grouped in with summer Hollywood blockbuster movies. You know, this is Bad Boys.
Real
This is just
quick,
Uh,
Bad
real
Boys and
quick.
Cowboy Days.
I will accept that. I think that's an accurate assessment. In terms of these types of movies, though, when you take 12 Years Slave and Roots, and how many do you think we need till it does more harm than good, or does it ever do more harm than good? What do you think about that?
If it happened, it could never we could there never be enough. If these things actually happened, which they did, it could never be enough. And the problem is that it happened here. A lot of that shit happened here. You know what I'm saying? So people here don't want to hear about it. People here don't want to listen. They want to pull through Dunkin' Donuts in the morning. They want to get their coffee. They want to hit their job. They want to do. They want to go back to the crib. You know what I'm saying? Have a good night. Repeat, rinse and
uh,
repeat. They don't want
uh,
to deal with, oh well, my great great grandfather might have or did or it is
uh,
confirmed that this land is like listen, it gets deep. So to answer your question, my answer to that question would be if these things took place, then there is never enough visuals
uh,
or reminder.
I've seen
yeah.
um Yeah, just I've seen the same way that they've taken an idea and have exploited it for profit. I've definitely seen examples where they exploit we're whipping, mandingos and we're whipping women up. You know what I mean? I've seen
Yeah.
heard of plays, and so it's like there's a importance to it, but Hollywood's gonna be Hollywood, and they're gonna sell, they're gonna make money and profitize and exploit
It's
what they
money,
can.
man.
Well, it's interesting what Muggs is saying in the sense that I mean that's exactly what James Baldwin was saying, right? That you don't want to actually engage in the reality of particular things, but like I mentioned earlier, there's I mean it's not enough it's not going to be ever be enough because it's never going to happen. It's not a marketable product. We have to remember that this is a product. This is a commodity.
Black
It
trauma.
has to sell,
Right.
right? It has to sell. And if it's
That's a fact.
if someone is sitting there and saying, "Well, we are going to fund this multi-million-dollar project, where am I going to see my returns?" And it's not something that I mean, unless it's something that has already sold, millions of copies, and it's a fucking New York Times best-selling book. It's not, and even that is going to have its own, kind of filters. It's not. We should not seek information, historical information from movies. It's
Right.
not. It's not the right thing to do. Even when you do take a book like this semester, we're going through the House of Spirits, which is it's fictional, but it's what we call in Latin America magical realism. But it takes place during the coup of Chile, of Allende, and it's actually written by his niece. But and then we show the movie after we read the fucking 400 and something page book, and then we show the movie that has Glenn Close, fucking bitch's name, it's a star-studded fucking star-studded film, and it's horrendous. It omits like fucking like 20 characters. It's nothing like it's just horrible. It has your man Tony Flags and Antonio Banderas. It's just it's a horrible depiction. It's a horrible translation of the book, and we also have to recall that who's writing it, what is screenplay, who's directing it. I mean, what studio is putting this out? What are the reasons? What is the bottom margin? What do they expect to get out of this? So we shouldn't. It's what we if you want again information, it's something you should then read peer-reviewed books. Something that you can say, all right, there have been people that can attest that this information is correct. There has been a scientific method applied to the obtaining of this information, not someone's translation or interpretation of said knowledge. Right? We should not be getting it from movies.
I agree with that. And
You know?
since I feel like for a long time movies have been taking a decline, and we've been seeing a rise in television. And I'm not talking about cable television, even though it's still there, still relevant. But like TV shows, you know, even all the streaming platforms have their own original show now. You know, and it's yeah, the banter and the I mean the rhetoric and things just they transfer from movies to TV, and it's almost seamless because now we have the phones. So I'm watching something on my phone and I'm also watching something on the TV at the same time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, and even at that, this is what we dealt with the strike, right? Where there is more control from the heads of studios, where they're saying, "Well, we want to maximize on our profit, so we're going to turn to this kind of you know uh, portraying of particular things, and really having the control of what we all see, what we all consume." So
I definitely was
again,
talking
just
about that
just
with Muggs. Yeah.
what were
Go
you
ahead.
guys referring to? What kind of shows?
Well, in particular, like, so you just said, like, at the end of the day, it comes down to shareholders and share price. Like Bob Iger runs Disney. He doesn't care about movies being good. That's why superhero movies are just going to keep being terrible. It's money, it's greed, it's share price. And we're never going to see big studios take a leap of faith and go, let's make a good movie or let's make something that's saying something. Because why? I can just keep flipping money.
So your opinion is it's like, I mean, listen, I agree with you, but I just want to clarify for the people. Your opinion is that we probably won't see major studios take, you know, indie, higher risk, more
Never.
volatile
Not no
chances
more.
on art.
So I said too, as I mentioned, like you got the Oppenheimers, you got guys that they trust, right? We'll give money to what's his name, Nolan. We'll give money to
Right.
Nolan. We'll give money to Scorsese because they have the backing. People who trust their movies, right? But at this point, it's like they're not with taking risk. Marvel movies are not risky.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. I mean, it's a good segue that you mentioned that because next week I do want to discuss the that Scorsese movie, right? The Killers of the Flower Moon.
Is that going to be the next one?
Yes, sir.
All right, fair enough.
I think
Because
that's
I've
gonna
been
be a
wanting to
good
watch
one.
that shit anyway. I've been wanting to watch
Yeah,
it
it's gonna be a
anyway.
good one to
And
talk
I'll
about.
tell you right now, listeners, as well as well as you guys, man, listeners as well as you guys. Uh, I don't know, man. Get your affairs in order. This movie is 3.5 hours long. Get your shit right, B. Get your popcorns, your
Mm-hmm.
chocolates. I
Libations,
mean,
all of that.
put your phone on airplane mode. Because it is a 3.5 hour flick, and like you mentioned, man, it's Scorsese, and again, it's because it was a book, right? And the book was a bestseller, and he was able to say, "Yo, I'm Scorsese. I want to do this," right? And after being Scorsese and being in the game for
Right,
fucking
he got
50
that juice.
years, you got that juice. You could do the movie, but yet I still have um my you know my little quarrels with it,
You got
right?
qualms. Yeah, you got
Uh,
qualms with.
yeah, I have questions and I have a little bit of conflicts. You know what I mean? With what he did with that story. Things that were not brought up and could have been brought up, right? And I mean, I would love to have the opportunity to speak to him. Like, why didn't you dive deeper into this aspect? And again, we have to understand that there are people that sit there and say, well, do this, and let's remember, test audiences, right? That see these things before they come out and say, I don't know, man, maybe, and people change it, and the history of film in the sense of, like, you know there's been people who come in to either spruce up the film, writers get fired, and again, it's a sometimes you understand it's a collective of people that have to operate under the umbrella of these corporate monsters in order to put that final product out.
A lot. It's a
And
lot of moving pieces.
it's a lot. It's a lot. So that's why we can't as again. This is not to deter you from watching shit, because I watch shit repeatedly, but it's an understanding of what you're watching, right? The same way, you know, because we are in a, now I'm not gonna say era, but we are part. When I say we, I'm talking about myself and you guys. We are a part of a culture, a genre. When I talk about hip hop, that it's people tend to believe the things that come out of other people's mouths, right?
Right.
And that's very dangerous, right? It's very dangerous to believe particular things, and it's something this country was built on. It's jibber jabber, right? The con man.
Right.
I mean,
Snake oil.
yes, and we talked about that, right? Snake oil salesman.
Right.
Um, Stop getting fooled, people. Build better filters in your mind and say, that could be bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I never believed that my favorite rappers were really killers
Mm.
and drug dealers. I didn't believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that things rhymed.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So similar to that, look at the films that you're watching and understand what who has a hand in the making of this art.
Would you say it's very much akin to trying to be conscious about what you eat, in the sense that you go to the store, and nowadays a lot of us are going to the store, we pick an item up off the shelf and we're turning it around to see the ingredients in it.
I mean, listen, dude, I don't get that deep
Right.
because I drink a lot of beer.
Now listen,
And
I
I got
understand.
a cranberry muffin waiting for me after this interview,
Right. But
and I smoke a pack of cigarettes a day. So it's and I watch much more garbage than the garbage I consume. I think so. I don't want to get into food because I'm fat. You know what I mean?
I mean, listen, me too, bro. Listen, me
but
too. But
but
that's why I asked the question though, because it's
yeah.
like, I feel like, okay, so that's referencing back to my other question. Should we be making better choices? I guess it all circles back to the choices that we make. Should we be making better choices as a whole on many different levels? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, if you want to,
Right.
listen, because again, it's about your time, what time you got.
Hmm.
Right? Because yes, I know people. I think I mentioned it before. I know people who watch things with their partners, with their
Right.
families. Like,
Right.
I don't have children, and I don't watch shit with my wife, yo.
Right. No,
Right.
I get it.
So it's what you have time for and what you utilize the television for, right? Um, and I don't know.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah,
It's subjective to your personal situation. I agree
exactly.
with that. Right.
My thing is that, and I'll watch bullshit, right? Like I'll watch bullshit, and I know that I'm watching bullshit, but with a joint in hand, it can be hilarious to me,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? But I know that I'm going into this watching bullshit, right?
Okay. Fair enough.
That's the thing, is that know what you're getting into, right?
Okay.
Like
All right.
the
So
same,
okay, no, so fair enough. Then okay,
yeah,
now that answers my whole question.
yeah.
Know
Right.
know what you're getting into, people. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. If you're gonna, if you're gonna go eat McDonald's, know you're gonna be joining the bathroom soon.
Right.
You know what I mean? Know that. You know what I mean? Don't be surprised. You're like, yo, why my stomach hurts? Like, cause you just had Mickey D's, B.
Right.
Like, you know what you're doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And don't, I mean, don't be surprised, or don't think that you're consuming fucking a proper meal when again you're
Right.
eating fucking salt fries.
Right. 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 So yeah, don't assume
Yeah,
that this is this when it's not that. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I agree with
So
that 100%.
like today, I watched real quick, and I had to stop it because I was like, oh, this is just getting too bad, and it's to me it was overly just disgustingly racist. I was watching historical roasts with Jeff Ross, right, and
Mm.
they had an episode where they were roasting Martin Luther King.
Oh
Yeah,
shit.
Martin Luther King. And motherfucking Jaleel White, yes, Urkel, was playing Nelson Mandela as one of the roasters. He did a fabulous job. But then they also had a shorty there who was playing Rosa Parks.
Mm.
When she got up, this was when everything got bad,
Oh
and I
shit.
was like, I had to turn it off because she was up there as Rosa Parks, but over here, fucking, waving her hands around and doing some overly crazy
Right.
fucking like 2010 shit. And then she says something along the lines of, I wish I would have fucked Malcolm X. If his face was a bus seat, if his face was a bus seat, I would have stayed on and never, I never would have got off or something like that. I never, shit, I would have stayed on and I definitely would have got off, something like that. And I was like, oh, that's pretty weird. And then she turns to Nelson Mandela and says, but if it was you on the bus, they would have taken your cheetah chasing, spear chucking ass
Oh shit.
and tied you to the roof. And I'm like, whoa, uncalled for. Who wrote that joke?
Right.
that's I mean it's and you see that shit. You see that shit a lot in American cinema when it comes to blacks in America and talking about blacks in Africa, right?
Right.
Like let's go back to Boys in the Hood, a fucking African booty scratcher.
I'll never
Like
forget that, bro. As a kid,
yo,
and
my
you know
man.
it's crazy. As a kid, bro, you know. Okay, so all right, real quick. I don't think y'all understand, and it was not just. It was definitely not just the New York City school system, but that's where I came up. When we was kids, that was one of the number one go tos. That was over reliable if you was trying to, you know what I'm saying, crack on
Yeah,
somebody.
yeah. I
So,
mean, I grew up in Washington Heights, bro, and I was in middle school in the '80s. And when that movie came out, was like 90 or something like that. We were about to graduate middle school, and we had two brothers that were African, the Adzay brothers,
mm,
and people were like, "Yo, African booty scratch," and I was like, "That's not right. Like
right,
that
that's
is
fucked up.
not, you know what I mean?" Like, and you see that shit in stand up, in American film, like this kind of like that people like from Africa, although they're black, they're distant. They're not as developed. I was like, what the fuck? That's kind of
Right.
wild.
That's really that is wild. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's
It
crazy.
is.
That's crazy. And you know what it reminds me of? There's a movie. Is it Sugar Hill? Wesley Snipes. I think it's Sugar Hill with Wesley Snipes. There's a
Sugar
point,
Hill, yeah.
right? There's a point where they're in a restaurant. Real quick, he's a drug dealer. Ba ba ba. He's trying to get a new connect. He's meeting with these African
Rome.
dudes. Rome. He's meeting with these African dudes. Right? They sitting down this nice little restaurant uptown. And bottom line is the African dude is like, you're in a kata, and he's like, what's that? Because she ain't know what the fuck it meant, and it's like you're a
Yeah.
cotton picker. You know, we'll never respect you. You're a cotton picker, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that that's how everybody feels. I'm just saying that that was the dynamic that they showed in the movie at the time. And when I was a kid, I was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
You know
that's
what,
crazy.
bro? That's crazy too. But I think about it. Remember I was working one of the few jobs I've had security at this one spot, right? And the African dude, I'm African American. I work security. I work the door. The African dude is the front desk. He's not attached to that. He's not attached to the things that they did to the black people here because he just got here. So they super
Yep.
happy when they see him. They super nice to him when they see him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. No, that makes
So
sense.
this is and one thing I'll throw out there, because I mean you're absolutely correct. There's a but this is again the problem with stratification, right? The problem with categories, right? That this country is founded on, right? Categorizing people, and it's this. I mean, it goes back to this one thing in Latin America that we didn't have, right? And here is that idea of the one drop rule, right? Where you have the one drop. If you're black, let's say you're black, right? You can't escape it.
Hmm.
And the categorizing of all black people in this country, and then the portrayal of that experience is true for all black people, which is something that I find to be extremely hurtful, right? It hurts. It hurts the identity, right? Because again, watching that crazy fucking roast, it had fucking one of the roasters was Obama, right? Like a person playing Obama. And I'm like, that's an issue, right? Obama does not share the black experience in this country.
I'll agree with that 100%.
Of course, my man, he was raised by a white woman. You know what
Right.
I mean? It's but there's when you hear white people talk about Obama, oh no, the black, whoa 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 whoa, no. I mean, the idea of experience is what creates culture, right? The idea of experience is what creates culture,
Mm,
and that's not a lie. That's what it is. Culture is what you're dealing with in your in your shit in your daily life,
right.
right? But when you pile everybody up into the idea of race, then that becomes pretty hurtful for the evolution of that culture.
Right. No, I'll agree with that. It's man, I don't. You know what? It's crazy because we have these conversations and they're deep conversations, and it's like for people who are listening, the number one question when I listen to stuff like this, the number one question I leave with is like, all right, well, what to do? You know what I'm saying? And I guess
No, listen, man. There isn't. There's not an answer. We're not giving you. We're first of all, we're talking about movies.
right,
What to do is just stay sharp.
right.
Stay sharp.
I like that.
Stay vigilant. Right. Stay
Right,
sharp and vigilant.
right.
I mean, you're not gonna tear the system down. You're not gonna do it. Let's stay vigilant. Right. As long as you stay vigilant, the mind is gonna continue to stay vigilant. Right.
Right.
It's only when you stop becoming vigilant that you're just gonna melt into the shit. But if you stay vigilant, then you create better conversations with people who want to be around those conversations, and that's when you start, building ideas,
Agreed.
right?
So let me ask you guys this. What is your final rating on this movie? How many buckets of popcorn do you give this movie?
What's my thing? What's my top rate out of what?
Out of 5.
Out of 5?
Out of 5.
Well, if you are a fan of westerns, if you are a fan of comedic colloquial uh banter, um I give this movie a 3.5.
Nice.
Right? If that's what you want to watch, yo. If you want to watch somebody get the shit beaten out of them in front of everybody, and then kids going to rush and getting his gold teeth. I mean, it's there's violence, there's blood, there's you could laugh at them. There's revenge. There's a twist at the end. Say if I'll ruin for you, you find out the motherfuckers are related. It's you know what I'm saying? Because initially you walk in, you're like, yo, what the fuck was this all about? But
Yo.
then it gets to the end. There's no build up to the end, but there's no. The good guy wins, bad guy
Redemption.
loses.
Redemption.
Yeah, there's redemption. I mean, it's not fucking John Wayne killing fucking Indians. I'll tell you that much.
Right. Yeah. So, all right. I'm trying to think. Out
If
of
you like
5.
music, the music is cool. Hey,
Yeah, yeah. You know what? If you like that, listen. This is. Let me just reiterate this real quick. These are our opinions.
yeah, of course.
But people, fuck, they take things to the max. You know what I'm saying? They take things to the maximum. These are
Look,
our opinions.
what's sad is that you get more historical value out of a Quentin Tarantino movie than you out of the.
Oh shit.
Yeah, dude.
We gotta if you're referring to Once Upon a Time, we gotta do that too because
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah.
really enjoy that movie.
I go with Hateful Eight. Oh,
Ooh,
I love Hateful Eight.
yeah, yo,
Love that shit.
Hateful Eight is a good one too. Guru, where you at? How many buckets of popcorn do you get this shit, bro?
Out of 5.
Okay, damn. Okay, well, it's the first one. I'm gonna say three. I'm gonna be conservative. I'm gonna say three.
Oh, I gave it 3.5. That's pretty good.
Okay, I'm gonna
You,
say three, man. I was gonna say four.
But
I'll agree
just
with
in case
that.
you didn't hear, I said, yo, if people like violence, a good redemption story, a nice soundtrack, hey, 3 out of 5. Yeah, 3.5. You got it.
Yeah,
I'll agree
agree,
with
man.
that. I'll give it 2.5 buckets of large popcorn.
Wow.
I'll give it two and a
All
half.
butter though.
Extra
All butter.
butter?
Extra soy butter. The extra butter,
Okay,
extra
there you
soy
go.
butter for you. You know,
Okay,
um,
for the butt
I'll say
wearer, for the
that
man butt
because
wearer.
listen, in the beginning of the week, I'd have gave it 0 buckets. I'd have said, that shit is trash. You know what I'm saying? But I watched it. I gave it a chance. I did not mind it, but I personally saw too many flaws in it to give it anything higher than that.
But flaws in what sense? Like let's take away. Let's
Okay,
not
right.
let's not let's not focus on historical value. Let's
If we're talking about purpose,
for a
like,
cinematic story, right?
okay,
For
so
a cinematic story, right? Let's say you're watching this and fucking splash. We know it's not real, right?
right.
What were the flaws? What were the flaws to you? Because I would love to hear this. What were the flaws for you?
Um, so like we were talking about, a lot of the dialogue
Yeah,
could have been written out.
yeah.
A lot of the extraness of some of the characters, not all of them, and I think they all did very well. If we're talking about from a pure entertainment standpoint, then
Yeah,
I enjoyed the movie. I
yeah.
did. I did. I
So
just
for the listeners, real quick, when you say extraness, I think you're referring to like let's say I forgot the character's name, but he's like when he meets Cherokee Bill, he goes, "Yo,
He
what's
was
up?
like,
I
I'm
want
nasty
this."
with the blammers.
Yeah, and he's like, "I want to
Yeah,
shoot out
yeah.
with you." And he's like, "Yo, come back to me tomorrow," type shit. I thought that shit was hilarious. And then the fact that he's like trying to count down, and then your man just shoots him in the head, like in the middle of the countdown.
Savage.
To
Cold.
me, I found that hilarious, right? You
right.
know, so there are certain things that there is a bit of extraness to the characters. I completely agree, but I just wanted to
I agree to
flush
that
that
too.
out for the people listening.
No, yeah, it's definitely certain things like that. You know, I'm a very I'm a strict critic when it comes to movies because I love movies so much. Movies were such a big part of me growing up and passing time during, turbulent times in my life.
Yeah,
So, I'm a critic. I'm a hard critic of them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it boils down to accents for me and shit like that. But that's not for your average person who's just looking to watch the movie. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
No, I liked it. I'll tell you this: 2.5 is a decent review from me because I went into it like, yo, I'm gonna sit through 2.5 hours of a movie I don't want to watch. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? But I liked it, and it changed my mind
Oh,
about it. And I think the acting was good. And a
yeah,
lot of the times, the fucking acting ain't good. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah.
and you
I
know
mean,
what, Jonathan? I
Regina
think
King.
no, she killed it. She killed it. I would say real quick.
Yeah,
I think to that point too is for me is nothing else is we've seen a lot of full cast white people movies where it's all fantasy, and part of my brain was like, no, this is obviously fantasy, and so it's cool to see black fantasy, right? Something where it's like you already know we got a lot of movies where it's in the hood. We already we doing certain things as drugs, but nah, just take us out that world for a second, give us some fantasy. We need some more black fantasy.
yeah.
I'm with.
Fair
I
enough.
said, listen, man, I'm all in for black fantasy, and it's just I wanted to escape the white narrative,
Mm,
right? Uh, I am all for black fantasy, but let's escape the white narrative because this flick had I think the dialogue in which we said that we weren't happy with was the only thing that was uh, if you can say authentically black, right?
right.
Like in the beginning when he's like, "Yo, man, I'd rather die than listen to this motherfucker keep talking." That shit. I mean, that shit to me, that but it's just the outlaw thing, the fucking the God again God thing, the even the idea of creating your own town that has to exist within these laws of fucking early not early but expanding capitalism into the West.
Right.
I mean, there was no talk of slavery at any point,
Mm,
right? There was no talk of slavery.
that's a
That's
good point.
wild.
That's a good point, bro.
There was no talk of slavery. So I'm all in for black fantasy, but it has to be something that speaks to the black
But
experience.
bros, I think
Right.
that's why it is fantasy because it didn't have no real right. Like to have slavery in it, that isn't real. The absence of slavery is fantasy.
Right, but
You
so
know what I
let
mean?
me ask you this. So okay,
It's
at
not
that point,
real.
if right, so then why are they referencing people who might have lived at these points?
To
Like they might
Because they
color
not
want
have
to do
lived.
that exactly.
to color the story and make it down to make it feel real while selling you steak. That's what it
So
is.
So then give me fake
This is
characters.
McDonald's. This is McDonald's for you.
That's McDonald's, right?
You
McDonald's said they
know
selling
what
you
I'm
food.
saying?
Are they though? Are they
I don't
though?
Yeah.
know.
But that's what
But then
entertainment is. You you
then
get what
give
you
me
pay
fake
up for.
characters.
Right. Then give me characters that
Right.
are
Don't give
fake
you real
names.
characters and fake
Right.
situations. You said. I'm with.
Yeah.
You. I feel you. I feel you.
You know what I mean?
Because there's a lot of space to be
Don't
confused if you don't know enough.
yeah. Like
Yeah, I
don't
feel you. I feel
say
you.
especially when you're gonna be that upfront like these period people period existed. All right, but so did fucking Ezekiel in the year
Right.
1100. don't do that. Don't do that because it
That
really,
was a marketing ploy.
yeah. And but the whole thing is that although it was a marketing ploy, really quick when you even Google the movie, the first thing you're gonna see up and down the scroll is, this is weird because although these people did exist, they never did what they did on screen, and they never even knew each other. So what was the point of bringing them up?
Right. Like they might not have even lived during the same time.
Yes, I mean, no, they didn't. Some of them did not. So what was the point of coinciding their stories?
Right. Right.
Like, what was the point of bringing these people up anyway?
And
For
you know
that,
what? But you know what? Real quick before we end this, in my opinion, a lot of this has to do with the Marvel playbook. We get all of these fucking big names on stage. After the Avengers, bro, everything changed. We can get into that in another episode.
yeah, we can.
But after the
Right.
Avengers, everything changed.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry.
Well, so here's my to finish up because I just had this idea. So what is the harm that comes with this? Well, one of the harms is that we get people who then have a skewed interpretation of historical events, and that's a great harm. And what's my reference to this point? I heard this shit like 3 times today watching the watch DL Hughley shit. I mean, when man Kanye West was like, "Yo, slavery was a choice."
Mm,
Like, no, what are you reading or watching that made you into it?
for
Right?
sure.
There can be a harm, but again, the Harley Fall is on Netflix. A whole bunch of people listen.
Go watch it.
Go watch it. Have fun with it, man. But definitely next week. What next week is what? This is what today's the 21st, the
Yeah.
28th. We're gonna talk about Killers of the Flower Moon.
Excellent.
It was a book that came out. I think it's like 2017. Scorsese made the movie last year. Stars Robert De Niro and my man crush Leonardo DiCaprio. But it's it's a wonderful piece. I enjoyed it. But definitely go out there and check it out so that when you're listening to us talk about it, you can have a point of reference.
Most definitely. Big facts.
Let's go. I'm
But yeah,
excited for that one. That was a good movie. We're gonna talk about it. Let's go.
I didn't see it yet. I ain't see it yet. So you know what? This is what I'm gonna do. Y'all gonna. I don't know how we gonna do it, but I'm going to take my time and I'm just gonna. I'm gonna watch the movie the same day that we do this shit, so I have a fresh idea of it in my head. You know what I'm saying? That's gonna be my gimmick on that shit.
A reminder is 3.5 hours.
Nah, I know. I
And
gotta.
it's on Apple TV for those who want to watch it.
Right. And the funny thing is, I have Apple TV, so you know what? Shit, I might watch that maybe
Yeah,
tonight.
you might have to watch like at least a half of it on Saturday, guy.
Right.
Yo, at least a half of it, B, because you never know, man. World might burn.
Mm-hmm.
3.5 hours, a lot of half hours.
Yo, it's a lot of half hours, bro, to be sitting
Yeah,
down.
yeah. B,
But I sit down for 3.5 hours for Martin Scorsese. I've done it already. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, this was good. I enjoyed this. This is good. I feel good.
Lights, cameras, distraction, baby.
You already know what it is.
See us next week.
All right, peace.
Peace.
Cheers.
Hold on. Real quick. Listen, this is the Gray Area Podcast.
Let's go.